Black Hollow Bay is a place few dare to visit. Hidden away on a rugged coastline, it's a place where the waves crash endlessly against jagged rocks, and the fog never seems to lift. At the edge of the cliffs stands the old lighthouse, its frame battered by time and storms. The locals have plenty of stories about it, none of them good. They say the light hasn't worked in decades, but still, ships vanish near the bay. They say the lighthouse keeper, Henry Morrows, went mad before he died. And they say, you should never, under any circumstances, look into the light. Darren knew all the stories. That's why he was there. He wasn't a superstitious man, he was a vlogger, someone who thrived on proving the ridiculousness of urban legends. A little danger, a little drama. It's what his audience loved. So, armed with his camera and his bravado, Darren made his way up the foggy cliffs toward the lighthouse. The air was damp and cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. As Darren approached the lighthouse, he noticed how the wind seemed to die down, as if the structure itself absorbed the sound. The door was slightly ajar, swaying on its rusted hinges. "Well, that's creepy," Darren muttered into the camera. "But hey, it's perfect for the vibe." He stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under his weight. The air inside was stale, heavy with the scent of salt and decay. The ticking of his Geiger counter-like footsteps echoed unnervingly, as though the building had been waiting for him. The first floor was empty, just a hollow shell of what had once been. A few broken chairs, a desk with a drawer hanging loose, and papers scattered across the floor. Darren panned his camera over the debris, narrating how abandoned it all felt. But then he saw it. A journal sitting on the desk, untouched by time. Its leather cover was cracked, and its pages were yellowed. The name scrawled on the front read, Henry Morrows. Darren flipped through the pages, reading aloud. "I saw it again last night, glowing in the bay. It's not a ship. It's not a trick of the light. It wants something." The entries grew darker as he read on. Morrows wrote about the whispers, about the figures in the fog, about how ships began to crash after he refused to answer their calls. The final entry sent a chill down Darren's spine. "Do not look into the light. No matter what it shows you, no matter how much it calls, do not look." Darren laughed nervously, closing the journal. Okay, that's sufficiently creepy. But he felt it, the unease creeping into the edges of his mind. The spiral staircase leading to the top was narrow and steep, the iron railing cold to the touch. With every step, Darren felt the weight of the building pressing down on him, as if it didn't want him there. When he reached the lantern room, his breath caught in his throat. The massive glass lens was shattered, its pieces glittering like jagged teeth. But in the center, where the light should have been, a faint glow pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. "How is this possible?" Darren whispered. His camera flickered, the screen warping and glitching. And then, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, like wind slipping through cracks in the walls. But they grew louder, overlapping, desperate. Voices pleading for help, crying out names Darren didn't recognize. He turned toward the light, the glow pulling at him like an invisible thread. As his eyes met the light, the whispers became screams. Darren's vision swirled, and suddenly, he wasn't in the lighthouse anymore. He was on a ship, surrounded by crashing waves and panicked sailors. They were shouting, pointing toward the cliffs, toward the glowing beacon. But it wasn't guiding them to safety. It was leading them to the rocks. Darren watched, frozen, as the ship splintered on the jagged shore, the sailors' screams cutting off as they were swallowed by the sea. And then he saw him. Henry Morrow's, standing in the lantern room, his face pale and hollow. "I tried to warn them," Morrow's whispered, "but it's always hungry." Darren snapped back to reality, his heart racing. The lantern room was silent again, but the light still pulsed, brighter now, as if it had tasted his fear. He didn't wait to see what would happen next. Grabbing his camera, Darren bolted down the spiral staircase, the whispers chasing him like a storm. When he burst through the lighthouse door, the fog outside seemed almost welcoming. He didn't stop running until he was back at his car, his hands shaking as he fumbled with the keys. Back home, Darren uploaded the footage. He watched it once, twice, but something was wrong. In every frame where the light appeared, the screen warped, as if it was trying to pull him back in. Darren didn't upload the video. Instead, he recorded one final clip. "Don't go to Black Hollow Bay. Don't visit the lighthouse. And whatever you do, don't look into the light." The next day, Darren's channel went silent. Weeks passed without a single update. And then, one morning, a new video appeared on his channel. It was just an image of the lighthouse, glowing faintly through the fog. And the light was on. Thanks for joining me on this journey through today's story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more tales like this, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when a new story drops. Until next time, stay curious. See you in the next tale.